Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Arif Khan here once again with Iceland Media, and we are doing our podcast for a preview of week number 10. So this week we have our usual cast once again. Imad, Hanan, and Omar. Assalamu alaikum, boys.
How's it going, guys?
Good. All right. So as you can see, there's a couple of interesting things that we're going to be announcing today. So one of them will be a jersey reveal. We'll obviously have more to it, but Omar, do you want to give a little teaser to what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so actually, it's been a long time coming. I think that a lot of guys have complained about the jerseys. Unfortunately, the jerseys that we have, they ended up being crop tops from some of the guys. But alhamdulillah, Imad and I have put our heads together and come up with a solution. So we're going to be going full sublimated ball hockey jerseys. And fully sublimated means that they're fully customizable. We can design them however we want. And they'd be typical of the ball hockey jerseys that you might see in some of the other leagues, Salam Cup. Alhamdulillah, Imad and I have put our heads together and we've done a complete redesign and try to attach some character to some of the teams. And we're excited to show you guys what we came up with.
So they're not going to be practice jerseys anymore. They're going to be real jerseys.
Rags to riches.
There you go. You said it best.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. All right. So as we said, it's going to be week 10 preview. Was Sani Arif finally wearing a jersey that isn't embarrassing? Hey, Sani, listen, man. I'm always going to be a Leaf supporter as long as it's a red Leaf and not a blue.
Wow. I wore blue to support the Maple Leafs, by the way.
So. That's fine. They're doing well, so I can't knock them. All right, so let's get on to this. So podcast lineup, obviously week 9 recap, our usual topics of conversation, some player transactions, league announcements and reminders, week 10 schedule preview, and we're going to give you a little bit of information about winter season 2022, as well as the jersey reveals and whatnot. So let's get started. So last week, the first game of the night was Taqwa versus Ikhlas, and this was a 3-1 win for the Green Machine.
So Box Score is brought to you, of course, by Faisal Mehboob. For all your real estate needs, both commercial and residential, you can check him out. This game, I had the opportunity to watch it, and wow, Taqwa came in with a game plan, and they were pretty successful for, I'd say, probably the first 8 or 9 minutes. So Ikhlas scored their first goal probably around almost 9 minutes in. So Taqwa did a really good job using their body, keeping Ikhlas to the outside, limiting their shots, not letting them cross through the crease and take the shots that they typically take, which they're successful in just scoring. The problem is Ikhlas, of course, with all their skill, they eventually broke through and they scored 2 relatively quick goals in about 3 to 4 minutes. And then, Taqwa just wasn't able to regain possession of the ball in order to be able to create enough chances to score on the goalie. Of course, Ali Khwaja is Ali Khwaja, strong in net, really helped his team out in this game. And it's not the typical high-scoring Ikhlas game, but kudos to Taqwa for playing a strong game to start with, and good building blocks from the games that they had before, the last couple of games where they've gotten points.
One of the interesting things that I found and I caught maybe the second period of the game, and by then they were already down 3-0, and they were able to kind of get one back towards the end. But it was a shift in attitude from what we usually see from Taqwa when they lose, right? When Taqwa loses, everybody's demotivated, everybody hangs their head, everybody's like, basically like they've been eliminated from the playoffs almost. It looks like that every week when they lose. But this time, they really felt good about their game, and they were proud of their effort. And I think that when you did the interview with Mo Mantra at the end, he made it a point to say that it was a much closer game than it might have appeared to be on the score sheet. So kudos to Taqwa, and if they get hot at the right time, because this is a preview of the matchups that's going to happen in the playoffs, right? Ikhlas is a lock to face Taqwa, and if Taqwa use this game to kind of make a game plan for how they're going to attack this game in the playoffs and the week after next. It'd be interesting to see. Maybe they can squeak out a win. Who knows?
Yeah, and they definitely played better. Taqwa really it wasn't their usual, or not, I shouldn't say usual, but it wasn't like in the beginning of the season, right? They actually played well. They kept up. For Green, you know what? It was just another night in Iceland. And although you don't really see Yusuf Ahmed here, and I know we've talked a lot about him, the guy again on one leg he was outstanding. He was just going through people end to end. And I recall, I think I was mentioning it to you, Ahmad. We were sitting in the penalty box watching, right? That the guys he's going through, they're not scrubs or anything, right? They're the top players on the other team, and they just like dancing right through them. So just tremendous to watch.
They're not us. They're better than us.
Exactly.
Just the way he changes direction, like on a dime, is just unbelievable. And like you said, Arv, just against some quality guys. You know, big shout out to the third line on Ikhlas. I think they had a very strong game. So talking Samad, Salman, and I think Zayn is on that line as well. Great forechecking, some great defensive plays in the neutral zone. I think they definitely helped with the energy on that team and allowed their top guys to be able to score the goals when needed.
Absolutely. So, yeah, good overall game. Good way to start the night. The second game, this was a very interesting one. This was Yakin versus Iman. Second game. The score is not reflective of how it started in terms of just the bench alone. Because I was on the bench and Iman, without exaggeration, they had one guy sitting on the bench, right? Okay. And it was hilarious to watch because they're like, people didn't want to come off, or they wanted to come off, but they didn't want to get off the bench because there was nobody else there. Finally, they did have some help in the form of one Osama Suleiman, who came in and within 10 seconds took a penalty and went into the penalty box. So they were even more shorthanded. But kudos to them. They settled it down, and one Adil Johan, he really took over the reins. And as you can see, the game ended in a 6-2 win for Iman.
It's scary to think what this team would be capable of if they had a full lineup. I mean, they're missing 2 GMs, and they still take a thrashing to Yakin. You know, the funny thing with Osama showing up, it's the typical Suleiman timing where you show up after the ball drops. But the first, I think it was 7 or 8 minutes of this game, there was no whistle. So he is literally standing outside the rink waiting to get in. And finally, when he did get in, Arf, as he said, he got the penalty. So I think quite a few of us who were standing watching the game had a little bit of a chuckle.
His teammates were telling him from the bench that we were better off without you. At least we had 5. Now you're here and we're 4.
Here you go. But you know, like you mentioned, Adil, he's a completely changed guy. With the change, maybe his playing style didn't gel as well with the guys on Taqwa, but the trade seems to have worked out really well for him. And then as well on the other side for Taqwa as well, getting Mo Mandra, both quality guys, but the fit just wasn't there, it seems.
And listen, sorry, Hanan, go ahead. I don't think you had a chance to talk.
I like this game because I saw in the second half, but this game was a lot closer than the score makes it look out to be. I know it was a 6-2 win for Iman, but they were shorthanded. They started off with a short bench, and it was almost like watching Ikhlas Light. You have the short bench, except you don't have the cardio that goes with it, but that's okay because the style of play that Iman has is that they're going to stand in front of their goalie and they're going to block the shots. I think there was one play where Farouk Sani stopped 3 balls by himself, and he was limping off at that point. It was like, make it stop. Like, but it's amazing how this team has gelled well together from the beginning of the season, where I believe they had 2 losses, 1 win, and exiting their division, where they're practically secured first place, and it's been a wild roller coaster ride, and it's not just that first line. It's everyone clicking. I want to give a shout out to Zahid Hussein. Like a lot of people did not think he would have the potential that he has right now, and he's been crushing it with Iman. And I think Otto definitely is the type of player that makes all the players around him better. And I believe, or correct me if I'm wrong, but he was on pace. I think he would have had the most points. The amount of points he has on Iman, he would have been on pace to have the most points in the league.
He has the most points per game. 3 points per game, right? That's up there.
And it's not just Otto, right?
Yeah. He has 13 points in the last 4 games, right?
Yeah, it's an incredible, mashallah.
And listen, I mean, Adil Chauhan, super duper talented, but I'm gonna put this out there is that I don't believe that he would be as successful if it wasn't for Farouk Sani.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Farouk probably gets enough, respect when it comes to how much he's meant to Iman this year. In the sense that unfortunately the commitment and the consistency has not been there from the GMs, and Farouk Sani has stepped up, right? And he is definitely the de facto leader on that team, and he leads the team. On the bench, you hear him barking at from the bench. And you have guys like Vasim Kagzi, guys like Tayyip Kalir. All of these guys have stepped up. Ahmed Khalid, and so it's a very well drafted team. And so whoever drafted this team, kudos to you.
If you ever show up,
right?
If they ever show up, whoever drafted the team,
if they ever show up. But honestly, like when you look, you see Adil Chauhan, really make a very, very solid, crisp outlet pass, and who's there to receive the pass? Farouk Sani almost every single time, and so he knows how to play with Adil, and we're seeing the success as a result. And I would not count them out when we're talking about championship caliber teams.
Yeah, that one sequence was actually, it was funny to watch. It wasn't funny for Sani. It was like that meme, that soccer meme where the goalie gets hit in the face like multiple times.
Yeah.
That was Sani. In the same sequence, within like 30 seconds, he got 3-point shots that he blocked off his leg. I think a couple of them were from Asif Bika, so I know those were.
And that's the thing is that I want to say too is that 6-2 loss for Yakin, but Yakin, to be honest, they played well. They actually had a pretty solid game. The one thing I would do as recommendations based on what I've seen is that it might be good to just give a little bit of coach back, and I don't know if they're already doing it, to some of the guys on the third line and second line, because it seemed like sometimes players were out of place, and when it comes to playing against when you have a defensive caliber like Adil Chauhan, Vasim Kagzi, they have a certain play style. Let your team know what their play style is, and so that they can prepare for it. Because you don't want Adil going around your third liners, because then you got a 5-on-4, and you're going to get punished for it at that point.
And I got to say, this is a good, this is a valid comment from Zohar Fancy.
When Fahad joined, Fahad's solid on defense. I know he hasn't had any points yet, but he's one of the de facto reasons why Iman's doing so well, is that the defensive core in general is impressive with him, Kagzi, Adil, and I don't know who else is playing defense for these guys these days. Jihad's supposed
Not
to,
many
but he doesn't
guys.
show up. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one, because I know we got a lot of stuff to cover on today's show. Third game of the night was Ihsan versus Haya, and here you have a 3-2 win for Haya.
Now, Umar Mahmoud, a dominant player, and this has come up since last week, where I think he also won first star there, and it's solely because he's playing with people who understand his play style. I think having BJ on, which is Mohamed Bilal, on Umar Mahmoud's line has opened up his entire game. You have Mohamed Bilal, who's able to control the game, and you have Umar Mahmoud, who's that grinding style. And I think Omar Isawi, you even mentioned it, like when Umar Mahmoud puts the shoulder down, it's almost impossible to get the ball off of him. He is the definition of a workhorse, and it showed in this game. And he was rewarded with the first star. And Haya in general has looked impressive. I think last week they came off a tie game with Ikhlas, and it's all due to they got their secondary talent, which Hussein Malik. I believe he was a call up. He had 3 points that game. Umar Mahmoud, Mo Bilal, who's also a call up. So the team is starting to click, and I would not say that Ikhlas doesn't have an easy time coming out of their division now because of this.
Yeah, we need to address the individual who does the spell check for Islam.
Yeah,
So
Saqib.
we're gonna publicly apologize to Dawood. It's Ciombor.
Dawood, why don't you just go ahead and type your name properly in the text so that everyone can see.
But we apologize, Dawood, and we're gonna fire this guy or the guys. But I mean, Imad and I played in this game.
Yeah.
It was ugly. It was ugly in the first period. Even Lukman, he pulled me aside afterwards, and he's like, "Man, you guys look terrible in the first period." And
Yep.
I remember thinking, we didn't score 2 games before this. In the 2 games previous, we were shut out. And I remember being on the floor because I don't think we scored till the second period, right, Imad? And so during the first period ended, and I looked at the scoreboard. I'm like, man, imagine if this goes 3 games. And we changed it up a little bit. We started firing everything that we could on net, and we were rewarded. We were missing some of our better players. We were missing Riaz was missing, Yusuf Sodegar was missing, and Kadir was missing. And so, inshallah, we have those guys back, and we're able to continue. I mean, it was a physical game, which we expected, but I think that at least in the second period, we really held our own. But unfortunately, it was too little, too late.
I didn't see the second period, but I did want to point out one specific thing is that Isan on the defensive felt like they crumbled in that first period. And I do want to make out some call outs. I believe, was it Omar Sadano? Sadat Malik. I know he plays defense. And I know because I know he was cursing under his breath for a few plays where he knows he could have done better. And we know he could do better. He's a solid defenseman. But, it's a lot of these turnovers that made Isan punished in that first half. And to me, specifically, when you guys are on the offense, it feels like no one's talking to each other. I feel like Dawood is sometimes in the defensive lane, and it puts the defense out of position, and it's there's no communication. That, to me, that's what it felt like in that first period. I don't know if you guys rectify that going into the second, but if you're not talking, it isn't for any team. If you're not talking offense and defense and understanding the assignments, you're basically playing with a handicap. You're missing a guy because you're all out of position.
I loss of words a little bit over here. A little frustrating. Our team, we're successful when our guys show up, and we've just had issues the last few weeks. I guess you could say the last 3 weeks we've come out with 3 straight losses, no points, and we've just been short. And a lot of times it's guys who are last minute cancellations, and we're just, it's not an excuse, but it's just what it is we're not prepared to play when the game starts. We're still trying to figure out lines. We're trying to figure out who's there, who's not there, all that kind of stuff. And I think that it does have an impact on the game and how we start. And it was quite evident last week. I do want to call out the other Imad Khwaja. I called him out on the podcast a few weeks ago, and unfortunately haven't been on the podcast the last 2 weeks. But ever since he made the change to defense, he's been a different player for Haya. Like, completely different. He's scored goals. He's gotten assists. He's been quite noticeable, a lot more noticeable than he was as a forward earlier in the season, and playing like that first round pick that he is. Kudos to him. But at the same time, I think we're looking forward to lining up against Haya in the first round of the playoffs, which the standings are finalized right now in our division. So it'll be interesting to see how we all line up against each other with a full lineup, inshallah.
Yeah, and important to mention as well as Habibi was saying that Hamoudi was missing for good reasons for Friendly Giant, and that's because I believe they had a child, and so that's
him and Habibi.
That takes precedence over everything.
Hamoudi. Who had a child?
Hamoudi.
Hamoudi. Sorry.
Yeah. Congratulations, Hamoudi.
Yes.
Congratulations,
brother.
Congratulations.
Good stuff.
The question is he going to be able to make it out now for the playoffs? But we'll see.
You probably will want to. Like, I don't want to change any more diapers. All right. So last game of the night was, that was the last one. Sabr versus Rida. And this ended in a 5-2 win for Team Yellow, Sabr. So Hanan, you were opposite to me on this one. So I'll give you the first crack at this.
Any cross checks, Hanan?
No cross checks this time.
No cross checks? Okay.
Honestly, this was a solid game by Sabr, and it's a complete difference from, I believe, what was it, last week or the week before that I saw them play, where it kind of felt like they were almost yelling at each other at some points whenever there was a mistake made. And I feel like they almost evolved as a team, and they played all 3 lines. And I think they played all 3 lines well. And I truly believe that's because they balanced their lines out as well. They didn't stack their first line, their second line. They spread the wealth, so to speak. And because of that, they're rewarded. Each line was just rolling on all cylinders. And they were, I believe, 40-second shifts. I've never seen any other team in this league do that, 40-second shifts. If any other team is watching this, take note. Because when playoff time, you're playing 2 minutes, you're going to get burned for it. And Rida did get burned for it. There was one shift, I think the GM, someone was on for 3 minutes. I'm not going to name Khalid Kokar, but what happened was that if you can't run for all 3 minutes, it doesn't help the team whatsoever. Because, you're facing teams that are just running all 3 lines, and you have to compete with all 3 lines, and you have to trust your own team for that. And on my end, I feel like Rida got burned because we didn't trust the team, but we also, stayed on too long and we got punished for it.
Yeah, I mean, from our side, I can tell you a couple of points. One, we had a full bench, with the exception of one player. But we actually had Asim back, which was great to have him back. So we had all our players. We were able to put our first line guys on. I think only Bilal was missing. Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
And when we had everyone, we were really hyped and we were pumped up. And you're right, Hanan. This was the first time in a long time I've seen a team or been on a team where it was literally 40-second shifts. And this was our game plan. Is that we looked at your side and we're like, they're missing, more players than we do. So let's just run them down. And we did that by constantly throwing it out. And we mixed up the lines. Like I was playing with Faisal, and mashallah, we had a really good game, all of us. So that was really the key there.
And RF, you had 2 goals. I said if RF gets a third goal, he's player of the week for sure. And so, I mean, you kind of look like Sajid Ayubi on one of those goals, right? And you had set up, and it was a one-timer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great play that Shahed did. He gained the neutral zone, walked through a couple of guys, drew them to him, threw it across, and it was just a one-timer, went in. Mashallah, alhamdulillah, I had a good night in the sense that it's one of those nights where the ball just keeps following you and good things happen. And you know what? The guys, they tried really hard to get me the hat trick. They were feeding me in the second period quite a bit, but missed a couple of times. But hey, man, we'll take the dub.
You almost got on that empty net right at the end. One more pass and you could have gotten it.
Yeah, I got on. I think I got an assist on that one, and then I think I was yelling at us. I'm like, pass it to me.
I will say this: another player that the ball followed quite well, and is Zaid Maju for the Sabr goalie. An impressive game on his end. He was stopping everything. We tried throwing everything we could at him, but we almost threw the book at him, and man was solid in net for Sabr. So congrats to Zaid. Definitely the better goalie for this game. And honestly, I'd love to see if Sabr can keep this up. This strategy you guys have is a solid strategy going into the last week and before heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I talked to Arif Bijabar right before the game started, and he was a little down on himself. He's like, this is not the way that I play, and I know I can play better. And he's like, but I'm going to stay positive, and inshallah I'll get one today. And he ended up getting the first one, if I'm not mistaken, right? The first goal of the game. And so, he's the type of player, right? He has the skills. And so I have every confidence that I'll continue to follow him and he'll be successful, inshallah. But I just want to give him, we've been kind of riding him a little bit hard in terms of his performance. And, I just want to give him a shout out and say, we see you, buddy. We see you.
Yeah, and I want to shout out our goalie as well, Zaid Maju. I know he got a lot of flack on the start of the season with Taqwa, but he had a phenomenal game. And in fact, both games, even though he didn't win the other one, but last game he won. It was his first win of the season, and he made just this incredible glove save from a point from a shot from the slot, and it was a thing of beauty. So good on you, Zaid, and we're really happy that you're in that for us.
Those trades are really looking good for Sabr right now. Both of them. The one for Junaid, who had a really strong game as well, and then also for the 3 guys that came over from Taqwa.
Junaid played defense, right?
Junaid played really well defense.
He did,
yeah. And I think that was a welcome change. And when we played with him on pickup, right, Arif, and he played defense as well.
Yeah.
There, and he was all over the place, man. He was pinching in, and he was in the right spot, and then he would be right in front of the goalie, and then you'd look away, and then he'd be back in position, right? So he's very fast, very athletic. So shout out to him, man. And I'm not sure what Rida was thinking when they made this trade for this guy.
Or how they were utilizing him, maybe.
I call Junaid the Tahir 2.0, man. He's such a great utility player. You can put him center, wing, defense. He'll play just as well in every spot. So I'm glad we have both Tahir 1.1 and 2.1.
There you go. I mean, my estimation is that Sabr's won this trade so far.
I do think I do agree. Junaid's been a fantastic player. I do think that Rida is starting to have other players ignite themselves. Zaid had an impressive game, and Zaid Claire also had an impressive game. So we are starting to see a lot of second line, third line plays, or manifestations on the scoreboard. And hopefully, if everyone else from Rida, if they're feeling better, and hopefully they've recovered in time, I think it'll be good to watch Rida and Sabr heading into the playoffs, if that's what it kind of looks like it's going to perceive to be for that first game.
All right. So with that said, the One World Halal Player of the Week for a second week. Is it a second week in a row?
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
In a row. Wow.
Yeah, second week in a row. I can't remember if it's his third one or second one. But anyways, Adil Johan, 2 goals, 2 assists on a short bench. He comes up big. So congratulations, Adil.
Well deserved, buddy.
He's actually listening because
getting
he's messaging me on WhatsApp on the side.
Is he?
Why are
Is
you
he
blasting
trying
my
to swindle
buddy?
you for a trade or something in fantasy?
No, I'm not in the
man,
fantasy league this year, thankfully.
but I just want to point out, look how happy he looks in this picture. It's like almost like an ear to ear smile out here. And I don't know if it's the gift card or the win. I'm not sure, but keep it up, man.
His arm around him.
It's like a kid in
The embrace of the commissioner.
All right. Okay. So let's next one here. So some league announcements. So I will let our resident OC members take this one.
Yeah, nothing new here. Just a quick reminder that entrance as usual from the front doors. The hangar will be checking QR codes, so make sure you have those available. And of course, the ever so important complete your COVID-19 self-assessment before 3 p.m. on Friday, because the form gets locked after that. We had a couple players last week again who did not meet the deadline, and they were unable to play. So we want to ensure everyone has an opportunity to play, and we try to give enough advance notice by posting this on Wednesday. So you should have more than 48 hours to fill those out. So please do so.
Excuse me, I was right in the middle of taking a sip. So I guess we're doing the next week's games first, right?
Yeah. So this is the Week 10 schedule brought to you by Chefs Halal. Arif, you're kind of take us away. First game.
Yeah. So first game is Rida versus Iman, Team Blue versus Orange, and this has definite playoff implications, or I guess standing implications, right? Because I think what is it? Hanan, correct me if I'm wrong. Iman is up by 1, then it's Sabr, and then it's Rida by 1. So there's a gap. So depending on whatever combination of wins and losses happen this week, it will solidify the standings.
Yeah, and I'll summarize it quickly. So Iman's at 12 points, Sabr at 11, and Rida at 9. If this first game is Iman versus Rida, if Rida beats Iman in a ridiculous fashion, we're talking about 5+ goals, and Sabr loses their game, that is the only way for Rida to be second place in the division, and that's the highest they can ever go. Whereas Iman, as long as they can come out with a win, they will secure that first place spot.
What if they tie?
If Iman and Rida tie their game, and if Sabr wins their game, then Sabr will be first. Rida will stay at third. And if Rida loses and Yakin wins in a ridiculous fashion, then Rida could technically finish last.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it's very rare. I think Yakin would need to win by like 10 points or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I got to throw a question out here for all you guys, and this needs clarification because I heard it from multiple people last week on in the arena. There's some confusion. The bonus or the benefit that you get for finishing first in your division, right? That you have a 1-game lead to start. Is that only one team per division, or is it the 2 teams per division?
The 2 teams, both teams. Because we typically do not allow all teams to make the playoffs, there is usually room to have like a 2-game series, in which case there's no room for that this season. And so basically, if you are first or second seed in your respective division, you will begin your series with a 1-game victory already applied. And so it applies to both the top 2 seeds because they are playing the bottom 2 seeds. So the bottom 2 seeds, they need to win. Even a tie will not be enough. A tie will result in the higher seed moving on to the semifinals. And then there's a question. Yeah, there's a question about the tiebreakers. So the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. And so the team that has a better record head-to-head in the 2 games that they played the other teams in their division. And then it moves on to goal differential. Past that, I have to check the rule book. But I mean, there's a number of things, but usually we never really have to go past goal differential, and Hanan would know better than me. I think he just mentioned you have to win by 5 or 10, and so I don't. We don't know if we get there, we'll get there. But I think at the very end, we just measure the beards of the GMs, and whoever has the longest one wins.
Start growing them, guys.
Okay. Second, thank God.
We didn't even talk about this game, did we?
What's that?
We didn't even talk about this game.
I mean, it's gonna. I mean, in short, hopefully, inshallah, Rida, they've had a few injuries. If everyone comes back, it's gonna be great. But honestly, Iman, it looks like they're absolutely snowballing at this point. They still haven't had two of their GMs show up, so we haven't seen the best Iman can play. And I think this is a good opportunity for Rida to, and Iman to treat this like a playoff game in itself. It's going to be intense because this might be the game that you might play in the finals for your division to see who faces the finals of the Medina division. So it's going to be rough. I do believe that attendance is going to be the key factor. But in that first meetup that Rida had against Ado in Taqwa, I believe they had a good strategy in terms of how to shut him down. And I think that they apply that correctly here again today. That will be a big factor that they can nullify.
So Adil knows what to expect now. Thanks, Hanan.
There you go.
Right. He should already be. Every team should be already gunning for Adil.
Hey Hanan, was it you that was saying that based on what happens in the first game, the Sabr and Yakin game can be thrown to a certain point to decide who you want to pick?
Yeah.
Is
So
that your tinfoil theories again?
yeah, no. So in theory, if Sabr throws the game to Yakin and Rida loses their game, Sabr could technically make it so that Yakin could hop over Rida and then have the better, I guess, matchup going into the playoffs. So it'd be Sabr versus Yakin going into the playoffs, where Rida would have to face Iman in that first round. So
So you're basically saying that Yakin is an easier matchup.
To be honest, the way they've been playing, I have to say that they're last in their division. It's not me just saying it; the stats show it. So
To answer Tahir's question, is overall goal differential. Tahir is not just between the two teams.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. All right, so the second game of the night at 9 p.m. will be, inshallah, Sabr versus Yakin, yellow versus white. So obviously my team versus the underrated superstar, Mr. Kazi. You know what? I must have jinxed him because ever since I said that after second week, he disappeared. What's going on, Kazi, man? You're supposed to shine when I compliment someone. Look at Hamza. I complimented him, and he's going to finish in the scoring race.
thing is, Furqan coming over to Yakin has been a tremendous help. I think it puts less pressure and stress on the Yakin team in the top line to get things done because they have other individuals and key players that they can rely on. This is a good opportunity. Honestly, I don't even mind if Yakin loses this game. Use this as an opportunity to just assess the team you're playing and take that going into the playoffs. So don't stress about the win. Stress more so on how you want to have your team set up going into the playoffs. Whereas Sabr, it's a good way to continue to see how you can line match, try to see what players fit in different lines, and then eventually solidify that heading into the playoffs as well.
And I think that I think you hit the nail on the head, right? I do believe that Yakin has to, provided there's no like must-win implications, like based on what you described. I think that Yakin has to use this as a strategizing kind of game where I believe where Yakin has fallen short a bit this season is just a general assumption that everybody on their team knows what to do. And so when you watch their games, you don't really see people talking to each other, right? The GMs are yelling at each other because they're all friends, but the second and third line, they're not really getting any direction. And I think that's one area that the GMs can, of all teams, can help, right? Is that sometimes we take for granted, okay, well, you know what you're doing, you know how to play ball hockey. But sometimes it's not the case, or they're not playing the style that you envision the team playing, and you really have to use your words and address that with them, right? And so I think that Yakin has to really communicate out there and make that a habit, and just make sure everybody knows what's expected of them, and then take it from there, right? And then hopefully go strong into the playoffs.
I think Yakin's players, I mean, they're all very talented, right? Hazi and then Abu and Kazi and then the rest of the team are very, very talented individually. But I think their attack style, and I've mentioned this to them on their bench, is like their attack style is such that there's a lot of one-on-one plays that they try to do to go in. Like there was one sequence where Hazi beautifully he rushed through, got the zone, and then he made a couple of nice moves to get the zone in possession. But then he kept doing it. Like Hazi, there's only so many times you can deke through your leg and the other guy's stick. You got to pass it and someone has to decide to shoot, right? And I see Asif on the point. Sometimes I look at him and I can see the frustration on his face. Like he wants to shoot it. Eventually they do let him shoot it. But I think if they just make one less move and one more shot, I think it's a different season for them.
I feel like a lot of defensemen, each team has at least one defenseman, Usman Butter, that does that. But I mean, it's hard to find out who it is.
It's amazing what you can say when the trade deadline is gone.
I know.
But then again, Hannan is untouchable.
Yeah, Yakin. The other thing too on Yakin is I don't know if there's the last few games. There's been a little bit of a disconnect with the defensive play and playing net. And I'm not saying that the goalie or Badger hasn't played well. Is just I think that team defensive game has been lacking, and it's shown in their losses and the blowouts really. So I think that's something that they should really focus on going into this last game.
Well, the reason that happens is because Yakin usually finds himself down a goal or maybe two sometimes, and then they start taking liberties offensively, and then they have defensemen that are talented offensively as well, and then everybody tries to do their part to get the team back in the game, and they look back, and then Badger has a 2-on-1 or 2-on-0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And which is what happened a little bit with Orange, right? They fell behind, and then they got anxious a little bit, and they abandoned their defensive game, and that's all she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, so the third game of the night will be the other division, which is Ikhlas and Ihsan. So green versus red playing. Both Omar and Ahmad, you guys are on that team, so I'll let you run with it, Ahmad.
So the final two games of the night, both from Medina division, they have no bearing on the standings. So regardless of what happens, the matchups are set. Ikhlas is going to play Taqwa, and Haya is going to play Ihsan. So it'll be interesting to see how each of the four teams are deployed their rosters, and whether individuals take an opportunity to rest nagging injuries. I know that a few guys in the division have had some nagging injuries, and maybe there's some load management that will take place this weekend or this Friday. In particular for our game, we talked about what's worked, what hasn't, or what really hasn't worked over the last few games. We're hoping to have more guys come out this week. It's a very strong Ikhlas team, obviously first in the league, high octane offense. How can we contain that? And that'll be the key to our game. I think another key thing we need to work on is our power play. I think we've only scored once in 20 opportunities this season.
Wow.
And it's not good enough, really. And a goal here or there on the power play could have made a world of a difference to our season. So we'll see what ends up happening. But Ikhlas, I don't think they change anything. They'll just use this as an opportunity to tune up and stay warm, or stay hot, actually, red hot, for the playoffs.
Just to interject real quick, Ahmed Ibrahim, Ahmed Mobin here, I guess, right? He's asking about scoring race, goals, assists. We actually will get into that later in the podcast a little bit. We have some information to share with you guys. So, just hold your horses, Mobin. Go lift something.
I think what he's getting at is what implications do these games have on that? Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't think any.
More lead and less goals, you'll win trophies.
Exactly.
I think Ikhlas has cleaned house on that, on all those. I think.
Yeah, I think they're just really competing amongst themselves at this point.
Yeah.
For those.
Can we have like a secondary trophy for anyone who's not Ikhlas to win something? Maybe then Johan and I we can compete for that one.
There you go. And I think I don't really have anything significant to add to what Imad has said. Is for Ihsan, I think we've resolved, and we talked about this in the locker room last week, is that we're just going to use this as an opportunity to fine tune some things, especially defensively, and really treat this as a practice game. And I hate to say that. It doesn't mean that we're not going to try to win, but it means that if we lose, it's not a big deal. And so that means that we're going to be deploying our third line regardless of the situation. We're going to be deploying our second line regardless of the situation. And we're gonna play the game, and we're gonna talk on the bench. And the same thing that we were just advising Yakin to do is the same thing that Ihsan will do, because like Imad said, there's areas of our game that we really have to clean up. And I would argue that a lot of that has to be offensively as well. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and Imad, you can correct me if you're looking at the stats, but Daoud, when he scored last week, somebody said that was his first goal of the season. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah. Hold on, let me tell you that.
That's wild.
So while Imad's looking that up, second goal, right? Which is not typical, right? This would be considered to be a very off season for someone like Daoud, who has many offensive gifts and talents. Yeah. And so I believe the game on Friday will be an opportunity for us to sort of try things, maybe try getting people in different positions, and really trying to spark that offense, because we're going to definitely need it in the playoffs.
You guys
Talk
sound
about
like
someone
you've
who hasn't
given up.
scored. Yusuf
You
Sodegar
guys
hasn't
given up?
scored yet this season.
Sorry, Yusuf hasn't scored?
Yusuf hasn't scored yet this season. He only has 2 assists on the season. So he's a big key to our team as well.
Did you ask if we gave up, RF?
Well, I know Sodegar gave up because he retired because he lost that bet with Jihad. But I was asking Omar, it almost sounds like you guys have given up against Ikhlas. I mean, the game hasn't even.
No, I wouldn't say that. I just think that there's no significance in winning the game apart from being able to say that we beat Green.
That's
And
fair.
for me, that's not important. It's only important if we face them in the conference finals. So I would rather, deploy my third line and my second line and really have them face tough competition and then coach them and say, look, if there was a goal scored or missed assignment, we could fix that for when it really matters the following week against a team like Haya.
Fair enough. And the last game of the night is Taqwa versus Haya, black versus gray.
I would love to see Haya keep that momentum going, and if they get that W, keep it going. Even though standings doesn't matter at this point, it's about making sure all of your lines click and that you're not missing a beat heading into the playoffs, because they are looking stronger since some of the changes that they've made and some of the new players that have joined. Whereas Taqwa, for them, this is an opportunity to still get a little bit more an understanding of the of the new pieces you've acquired, understand your goalie's play style, but also to find ways to click. The thing is, from what I've heard, the game against Ikhlas from Taqwa's side, it was not a bad game per se. It was just a matter of you didn't play the full 30 minutes, and I think that's what it just needs to evolve in. Like there are a lot of talented players, and they could steal a game if you're not careful.
I think Taqwa has to use this game as an opportunity to gain some momentum, right? And whether it be either offensive or defensive or whatever it is, but I think they have a big test ahead of them the following week after this, where they have to face Ikhlas, right, in the playoffs. And so Taqwa, I think they're really going to have to make sure that nobody decides to take a night off unless they really, really need to, and they really need to play a team game and treat this as like a preparation again for the very difficult matchup that lies ahead.
And don't take any penalties. That's the one thing for everyone. Like, avoid suspensions. It's the last game of the regular season. I know a lot of these games don't have that much impact, but you don't want to punish your own team by getting an unnecessary suspension or a game misconduct like that. So, have fun, roll your lines for all the GMs, and keep it halal.
Both these teams, I think, are going to play a fairly similar style with their size, physicality, and then capitalizing on opportunities on the offensive zone. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out now that Taqwa has been able to settle down a bit, as well as Haya. So we'll see which one of those teams comes out on top.
So what's the deal with Baba? I heard that he got hurt. He hasn't come to many games. In fact, I think he only has one game. Does that qualify him for the playoffs?
That I don't know. I'd have to talk to Kashif and the rest of the OC just to get an understanding of how that applies to GMs. I'm not sure. But if he is injured, we definitely wish him well and a speedy recovery, inshallah.
Of course, yeah.
I felt like maybe Hanan's comments a couple of weeks ago.
No. I apologize to him.
I made him stay away. So I don't know, Hanan. I feel like you have some.
For everyone who got all up in arms, Hanan was kidding. We know Hanan, and Baba has a good sense of humor, so they hugged it out. They're all good. He's not suffering from any kind of heart condition because of what Hanan said, and he hasn't shown up.
Nobody should ever suffer from heart conditions for me.
Throw your tinfoil theory.
I mean, Hanan has broken some hearts this season, so
no.
I've
only spoken the truth, and I do it to make sure people get better. I do it because I believe I see the potential, and I want people to hit that potential.
So
I'll take a shot at them.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. All right, Hanan. As long as you speak the truth.
All right. So let's move on to the next part of our discussion here. Hang on. So winter 2022 season. Obviously, we have one more week left, and then we have playoffs. We want to keep the momentum going, and inshallah, come back strong again in January, as long as the pandemic situation allows us. Inshallah. So what's on the menu here, Mr. Isawi?
So we just want to talk briefly, and normally there would be a little bit of a gap in between the two seasons, but the motivation for trying to start very quickly after is that the fact that we're trying to end the season before Ramadan starts. And Ramadan slated to start, I believe, the beginning of April, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so our goal is to complete and conclude the entire season, including the finals before Ramadan starts. As I think that it's strange, right? If you have a 1 month break and then you ask all of the team and the guys to come back to play the playoffs. So our goal is again just complete the season, enjoy Ramadan inshallah, and then look forward to the summer season. So that's the reason behind the quick turnaround. But we have some super exciting things that the OC is introducing for the upcoming season. One of which being the jerseys, but I'm not sure is that what's next on the agenda, Arif? Is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So alhamdulillah, myself and Imad, along with input from the media team, we have redesigned, or rather designed, new jerseys for the league. And we're far into the podcast, so I'm not going to dwell too long on them, but we can begin the reveal if you guys will. I think we're going to start with Yakin.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Isawi really did the designing of the jerseys.
So, guys, ready? Drum roll. Here we go. And here is Yakin.
Right. So, I had multiple iterations, and we definitely reached out to some of the GMs as well to kind of get their take, especially the GMs of those current teams. They won't necessarily be the GMs of the teams in the winter season, but definitely, we channeled the Blackhawks a little bit here. Mm-hmm. And alhamdulillah, we're very happy with how this came out. You'll notice that at the bottom or somewhere on the jerseys, there's a spot that's allocated to sponsors. And so one of the ways that we are subsidizing the cost of the jerseys is because we're not, obviously these jerseys are more expensive than what we're getting, and we don't want to pass that cost on to the players. So Imad has actually worked very closely with a few sponsors that want their logos on our jerseys, and they will be subsidizing the cost of the jersey. So thanks a lot for that, Imad. And that's Yakin.
Yeah, some of us veterans, we have a closet full of old jerseys that all look the same and all have the same number 17 on it.
So one of the cool things is we can actually we can switch up the logo, the writing in the front, even the lines. Right, that can be changed every single year if we wish.
Nice.
The other thing I'd like to mention is how we mentioned sponsors. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what we're trying to do. But if anyone is interested or has a connection to be supportive of the league and to gain a little bit more exposure in the community, just pass on my contact information to them or reach out directly to me, and we can have a discussion about how we can connect.
Yeah. So here we have Iman's jersey, orange. Go ahead, Omar.
Yeah, I mean, as you can tell, we really channeled the Philadelphia Flyers here, and we decided to go with a little diagonal stripe there for some flair, and yeah, I mean, it's either that or it's Tony the Tiger. I haven't decided yet.
I like Tony the Tiger. Yeah. Next one up is Haya.
Yeah, so Haya would be the mirror design, if you will, in the other division. Mm-hmm. Trying to set up a little bit of a rivalry between the teams, but again. This was actually possibly going to be purple. We thought the gray was a little bland, but after consultation with Mr. Lukman, we decided that we're going to keep gray. He sent me a message because I had asked. I sent him both designs and I said, "Luke, what do you think?" And Luke was like, "They're both nice, but gray." And then he sent me like a medal with a number 1 on it. He's like, "I'm assuming that means that gray is the best." So.
You're gonna keep gray.
Been very successful with gray, so I don't want to mess with that mojo.
Should have had that purple.
Who else asked with Mr. Haya himself?
For those who are astute enough, they might have noticed that purple is often used to represent team OC and media personalities in some of our videos. So purple is reserved for royalty.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Maybe we'll show the designs that didn't make it eventually. But I was quite proud of the purple one.
Yeah, and I know you also had experimented a little bit with actual pictures and logos, but I think we decided to just go with writing logos, and it kind of makes sense. Because it's hard to really personify the word haya or taqwa in an image.
Yeah, and I mean the media guys, if you guys ever talk to them about it, it's like we've been working on this for about a year now, and I think the first iteration of like Ihsan had like this demon on it with like no eyeballs, and then I sent it to Arif. I'm like, what do you think of this, man? And he goes, why would you use a demon to exemplify Ihsan? And so anyway, so we quickly scrapped that idea and we switched over to maybe the more typography type logos.
Putting the hood in Brotherhood.
Speaking of Ihsan, I actually like this one a lot.
And so again, what I actually did for this jersey is I sampled the Montreal Canadiens colors. Nice. And so the blue and the red are actually the same Pantone color if you're a graphic designer. It's of the Montreal Canadiens. And so I figured RF would like this one a little bit, but actually, even though they're...
You know what the writing reminds me of? The font is old school 80s Bollywood movie, Sholay.
Oh, that was not on purpose. Where's that Sodiger audio clip? But yeah, no, I mean, and again, it was one of those things where I just wanted to kind of stay true to some of the more classic colors, and I'm very happy with how this one actually turned out. So
yeah,
I'm glad you like it.
This is really nice. Next one is Ikhlas, and this is just a Greenbirds ripoff. I know people will say, but it's not. It's actually really nice.
Does it come with matching shorts?
Well, I actually
get matching shorts for all of them.
We could actually do that, and that's something that we're looking into. It's just it becomes a real challenge when it comes to the sizing, right? I mean, it's a lot easier to wear a bigger jersey. It's almost impossible to wear bigger shorts, right? And so with regards to the Ikhlas jersey, I wasn't necessarily trying to rip off any of the second best Salam Cup team, but yeah, sorry, I just gonna wait for that one to land. And so for me, I felt like the green and gold went well together, and it was actually a little bit lighter before, but thanks to Mr. Coker, I darkened it a bit, and I mean, again, it's one of those things. I think the colors work, alhamdulillah, and I'm excited. I'm happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, this was also really nice, and I like the fact that it's with that brown tone. It goes really well. All right. So this one's Rida. I actually like this one a lot, except for the fact that I look like I'm wearing a Leafs jersey. So I'm gonna
very nice.
That was the intention there, and as you can tell, I'm also channeling some of that right now. But again, that was the intention, even down to the placing of the stripes on the arms. It was meant to resemble an actual, the color blocking of a Leafs jersey. So again, happy with how this one turned out. It's a bit of a retro logo there, and
yeah. It could also resemble the Tampa Bay jerseys.
Yeah. I mean, Tampa Bay did copy the Leafs at some point, but...
These jerseys are not going to have names on the back, are they?
As of right now, no, and I'll explain why. The reason that there's no names on the jerseys is because the turnaround for the jerseys is about 3 weeks. And from the time that we finish the draft and then we know who's on each team, that means that there would be at least 1 to 2 weeks where nobody would have jerseys.
Right.
So that doesn't make sense. We're going to mix up the numbers a bit, and I'm going to speak to this a little bit when we talk about the GMs, because the GMs are finalized well before the players. But yeah, right now we're trying to brainstorm ways to make it happen, but it's just not looking logistically possible unless we put some gap in between the draft and the season start.
And don't forget, like, people can get traded too, right? So what are you going to do if you? I don't want to wear a Hanan jersey.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody wants to wear a Hanan jersey.
I don't even want to wear.
I don't think Hanan wants to wear a Hanan jersey.
Exactly.
I don't know, with the stuff you can get away with.
And the last one, or is it
second last? I think. Right. So again, Subber initially was a more of a retro Canucks throwback, but that was not well received. So we switched it to a little bit more Bruins, and again, happy alhamdulillah with how it turned out.
Yep, agreed.
Hanan would look really nice with karate pants with this one.
Yeah, I was thinking that we should bring them back.
Black karate pants.
Definitely will not get picked past the last division. Right.
And the last one is Taqwa, Miami.
So, yeah, when I took some liberties with this one, and I hear the Malton guys are very happy with this design. I realized afterwards that this is a design that they also mimicked on their Salam Cup softball jerseys.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize this. I was actually modeling this jersey after the Miami Heat retro, the Miami Heat. I think they're the city jerseys, and yeah, and if you recall, when we were playing Chell, Multani and Sakib had their NWO team, and they had this kind of color scheme going. So again, wasn't necessarily trying to recreate their team, but I felt like we needed some color and flair. So
I feel this needs some palm trees or something in the background.
Exactly, right? Maybe they can put on their shorts. Or if they level up enough, they can get shoulder patches.
Nice. These are really good, Homer. Great stuff.
Really amazing.
So I'm happy that you guys enjoy it, and I think the goal for the entire OC and especially Imad and I as new members is really trying to bring something new to the league and really trying to make it better, right? And make it a place where we're not just better superficially, we're also better in the way that we conduct ourselves and in the spirit of the game and brotherhood as well. So if this means that we can get there, then inshallah. So one thing for the GMs is the GMs actually, because they're established much earlier, it's possible that we will have the GMs' names at least on the jerseys, and all of the GMs will have some kind of identifying badge on their jersey, because some of the GMs don't like to wear C, and they don't like to wear the A, or they feel like the other guys are more deserving of it. So we're going to have something on the jersey that identifies them as a GM, and eventually possibly even identify how long they've been a GM in Islam. Again, just to pay tribute to people that are loyal to the league and that come back year after year and support. So it's just one of the other things. And also the GMs will have the ability to choose which number they want on their jersey as well, because there'll be enough time to do that.
Very nice. So,
okay, yeah. Imad, do you want to talk to that second point of the things that?
Well, do you want me to talk about the GM setup for next season?
Oh, sure. I mean, so inshallah, we're going to be moving to pairs for next season. So inshallah, we'll be doing GM pairs. That falls under my responsibility now. So if somebody is interested in being a GM, please feel free to send me a WhatsApp message or email or text me, reach out on social media, however you want. But right now it's wide open. So if you're interested in being a GM, you can talk to me in terms of what I'm expecting from the GMs, and we can take it from there.
Nice. And I got to say, if you want these jerseys, you have to play. You have to come back to the league to play. So you can't just
exactly. And to that point, actually, and maybe I'll just touch on this before I turn it over to Imad, is I don't know how many people know this, but because we play out of the hangar, we are an OBHF, Ontario Ball Hockey Federation, I believe, sanctioned league. And what that means is that because we compete under the umbrella of OBHF, we are also eligible to send a team to the provincials from our league. And we always floated the idea of doing like an all-star game. And really, sometimes in other leagues, they do all-star games, nobody shows up. And so for us, what we thought is the best players from each season should be able to go and represent ISLAM in the OBHF provincials. So it is a way for us as brothers to be able to compete at a high level against other teams. And so as an OC, we're going to be pursuing this inshallah in the coming seasons. And so we are it's OBHF. And so we are going to be sending a team to provincials that will be sort of like an all-star team from our league. And inshallah one day we can look back and see that we've won a few.
Maybe we'll have an all-star jersey too.
There will be, yes. So there will be an Islam jersey, all-star jerseys for the provincials tournament.
With pants?
Shorts, probably. With palm trees on them, maybe.
Nice. This slide here, Imad, was there other stuff you wanted to talk about, or is this?
Yeah, just quickly. Everyone's probably noticed we've been working on a few new things this current season right now. So one of them was the One Halal Play of the Week. The other is the schedule brought to you by Chefs Halal, or the box scores brought to you by Faisal Mahboob Real Estate or Realty. We're looking to partner with local businesses run by the community and who want to engage with the community, support the community, to help improve the player experience in Iceland. So some things to look forward to, and these are things that we're working on still. Nothing's set in stone yet, but we'd like to continue the Player of the Week, and so that someone gets an award for being the top performer of the week, potentially maybe a goalie of the week, because our goalies are so key and important that I think it'd be remiss not to acknowledge them each week, a top performer from there. And then also for end of season awards is rethinking how we do those. And is there something in addition we do to the trophy or the medal, or maybe something to replace that instead, that adds a little bit more value to the winner. So a lot of things we're trying to think about right now. As things become confirmed, we will definitely share it with everyone. But we just want you to be a little bit more excited about what's to come next season. And of course, if you have ideas, if you'd like to, connect with the league, sponsor the league, or know someone who would like to sponsor the league, or a particular portion, a particular initiative within the league, then please do reach out to us. You can, connect directly with me, anyone else on the OC or media team, and they'll get me in touch with you, or even on socials, and we can have a quick chat about that.
And to that point is, as you brought up next season, we are going to, I am taking care of registration as well and player recruitment. We have less than 30 spots remaining for the upcoming season.
Already?
Yes, already. So actually we probably hit, I think, 80% with less than 24 hours of opening registration. And so alhamdulillah, I mean, like, we're not scrounging for players. There's a lot of interest. Quite a few new people that want to join, especially from the East End, which was the goal. But I do want to push our current players. If you are thinking about joining in the winter session, I want to be fair to everybody and just let everybody know that the spots are getting quite limited.
And of course,
it's been determined that it's only one tier, right? It's not the double tier or no chance of that.
It's just one tier, and just with the two tiers, we just don't have enough weeks to be able to even explore it. And so, obviously, I think everybody is excited for the possibility of that. But right now, we're just focusing on the one tier that we have, and the possibility of trying to compete in the provincials, inshallah.
The other thing too is that just to remember is that your spot is not confirmed. Even if you register, your spot's not confirmed until you make out a pay your registration fee.
Yeah, I got lots of registration forms, and they don't usually follow up very quickly with the payment. So your spot is confirmed once payment. Somebody asked about the GoPro, and so unfortunately the GoPros were in Guelph last week. I'm not gonna name any names, but it was because of Hanan. And so our intention is that we want to capture the entire game, and possibly put up a highlight of the goals every week. Somebody asked about the entire game. Because there's two GoPros, it requires somebody to edit it, and I don't know if anybody has time to do that. So we may just throw up the footage if that's what people want. But at the very least, we're thinking that we'll just edit the goals into like a highlight package for every week. But yes, so somebody raised that. We are going to be more active with regards to capturing certain aspects of the game. And then for the playoffs, I think we have some exciting things that we're planning, but we'll save that for maybe the next podcast.
There's the bus, there's Hanan, and that's...
I'm sorry.
Before we also go, I think we wanted to quickly touch upon the awards for this year and what's going to happen. Ahmad, you had some thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out logistics on that, but we do want to announce all of the awards, or at least give out all the awards for the first week of the playoffs. So all teams are going to be playing. So we want to ensure that we're able to connect with all the players. So given that the regular season ends in, let's say, about 48 hours on Friday night, we will hold a podcast potentially on Thursday next week, special awards edition. Just to share who the nominees are and in the end who the winners are. But stay tuned on our socials for announcements on when and how that'll happen.
Yeah, it's going to be a special edition for our podcast just dedicated to the award presentation. So hopefully maybe we can get our commissioner to join us and make the presentations. As some of you might remember, we did a couple of seasons ago as well.
Yeah. We'll still have a regular podcast on Wednesday, though.
On Wednesday, yeah. All right, gentlemen, with that in mind, I think we've come to the end of our podcast. So any last comments before we head out?
No, just stay out of the penalty box. Don't get suspended. We're heading to the playoffs. Everyone's going to be mandatory for your teams, and all the best for everyone.
That's actually a good point. Any suspensions you get in the regular season carries over into playoffs and the next season.
Saqib is upset that there was no Ikhlas analysis. So just very briefly, Saqib, just make sure that you score and run. Okay, that's the key to the games for Ikhlas is play Saqib a lot, especially when I'm on the floor.
All right, everyone. We'll inshallah we'll see you all on Friday. All right, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, guys, take care.